My sales on Poshmark and eBay have been kind of random lately, so I want to go through those and share what's been selling and what's actually moving right now. The first one is this Aviator Nation trucker hat. This sold on Poshmark for $25. It only took one day to sell, and I think that it actually sold so quickly because of the time of year. Hats typically do pretty well in the spring and summer, and then also it's a very good brand. So good brand, good category, good, timing, seasonality, resulted in a good sale. If you are someone who resells or has been reselling for a long time, let me know if you still get excited to come across Aviator Nation. I know at least in the 5 years that I've been reselling, this brand just continues to do well, and I still get excited to come across it. This next one was quite on the opposite end of the spectrum, so it actually took almost 2 years to sell, and that was this pair of Aritzia track pants. The brand is TNA. It's like one of Aritzia's athletic or athleisure lines. And this eventually sold for $18 on Poshmark. Started actually just getting interest too. Like somebody asked me a question about it just like a week or so before somebody actually bought it, someone else bought it. So all of a sudden it got a little interest and then sold. Not sure why it took so long, but I would not pick this up again. I think I would just go ahead and leave that. Then this one definitely comes down to the Y2K trend still being, full steam ahead. So this is a pair of Victoria's Secret pink fold-over yoga pants. And that term or keyword fold-over is a really helpful selling point to this style of pants. When it comes to Victoria's Secret fold-over pants, this was very popular in the early 2000s. And what was popular in the early 2000s is popular again. So I knew when I picked these up that they would sell for a pretty good price, but I didn't know how long they were gonna take. They did end up taking about 5 months to sell. So I would, call that reasonable. Definitely didn't sit for a super long time, but was not an overnight flip or anything. So good sale price though for a used pair of yoga pants. If it were any other style, like just a regular legging or more, skinny leg, narrow pant, or if they didn't have the fold over, I just don't think they would have done nearly as well. So it was, about the flare leg and the fold over, I think is what ultimately led those to be a pretty good sale and sell for $35. This next sale was over on eBay, and it was this pair of Lululemon men's pants. So these sold for $40 and took a little over a week to sell. Very quick flip, very good sale, but the unfortunate thing was that the buyer requested to return these, and the reason was that I had listed the color as Nomad, which is a Lululemon color name, but it wasn't the actual exact color. I got it mixed up, and so when I said this was the color, the buyer knew what that color was expecting it, and so that was my bad. I should not have put the color name if I wasn't 100% confident. And so anyway, that's now sitting in my PO box. I need to go pick that up, and I did fully refund the buyer. It's not a big deal. I will just relist it and change the color name or try to find the right name, or just not include the Lululemon specific name. But ultimately, I am expecting that to sell pretty quickly again once I do relist it. This next sale was another one over on eBay, and it was this pair of L'Agence ribbed knit pants. These ones took about 5 months to sell and sold for $50. For this one in particular, I think that the buyer had to be pretty intentional when looking for an item like this, or maybe they just liked the brand. The keywords could have helped. I actually don't think my cover photo is very good and fully does this justice. I would have benefited having like a stock photo or something that helped the buyer see what it looked like a little better. So arguably it could have sold a little quicker if that were the case, but did sell still pretty well. And yeah, this is a good brand. It's a brand that I don't find very often, but when I do, it can do pretty well, especially if the style's good. This next one felt really random because it sold in spring after having it listed for 2 years, through a couple winters and everything, and it didn't sell until very recently. So this is an All Saints infinity scarf, sold for $14. Like I said, I had this listed for at least 2 winters. It took a while to sell, and it finally sold for $14, left me with a little under 10 in profit. I don't think I would pick this up again. I really don't pick up All Saints too often. It really depends on the category, or there are certain styles that I think I would pick up, but when it comes to something like this, I think I would pass. I really don't mind a low price sale. I am here all day for a low price sale. But if it's a low price sale that took a long time to sell, that's when I'm kind of like, okay, not necessarily something I want to hold on to and make you know, an under $10 profit. If I make that $10 profit in a week or two, that's great, easy, done and dusted. But if it's gonna sit for that long, I think I, you know, would rather pass on it. And then this one was a brand that I had heard before, or I think I sold it one other time, but it was really the material contents that sealed the deal for me on this one. So this was a J. McLaughlin linen dress, and it was 100% linen, which is a very, very good selling factor. The size was extra small, which was actually, in my eyes, kind of working against it. If there was any reason I would have left this behind, it would have been because it's an extra small, and that size can take a little while to sell. But I was really happy I picked it up at the bins. I paid, you know, a couple dollars. And sidebar, pretty much every single item on this list was from the Goodwill outlet, where I paid $1 or $2, all but one item, which I will call out when I get there. But I paid a couple dollars, flipped it for 50, left me with, you know, like 38 in total profit after my platform fees and the cost of good. And then if I had any shipping costs, that would also be taken out. When I talk about profit, that includes the shipping cost, but on Poshmark, the buyer pays for shipping, so I almost never have a shipping cost. So that one only took 2.5 weeks to sell, super quick. The timing is good. Of course, we're in spring. This is a very spring color, spring summer material being linen. So definitely some stuff that helped that one move pretty quick, but a really good sale. And let me know if you've ever sold that brand before, J. McLaughlin. Then another trucker hat. This was a Cotopaxi trucker hat. This brand is basically the new Patagonia, and I feel like it's like right up there alongside Arc'teryx in popularity, but this one sold for 15, and this is a very good example of a low price sale, but it moved quickly. So I am much happier about it than the All Saints Infinity Scarf. This one only took 20 days to sell, and again, bins pickup, bought it for a little under $2, flipped it for 15. Nice little profit there, super easy to photograph. Then this sale was truly all about the style and fabric when it came down to it. Never heard of the brand before, but it's called Backbeat Company or Backbeat Co. And what really caught my attention when I was thrifting and found this was that it was made in California, and it was a hemp and organic cotton blend. So I felt like that was going to be a good selling point, alongside the fact that it's a good style. So it ended up selling for $30, and it took a while. It took about 1.5 years to sell, so not a quick flip. The funny thing with this one was that the buyer actually messaged me right after I made the sale, which to me means they're gonna cancel the sale. So that's what I was anticipating. But when I opened the message, the buyer said that these were perfect for their new job and they were really excited about them. So I was like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise. Then this next one is a brand I have been looking for years at this point, and finally came across it in Value Village, just a regular thrift store, and paid a little under $6 for it. So this is a lack of color women's wool hat. So this one sold for $52 on Poshmark, and I think the brand is just a good one. People who know the brand and love the brand are on the lookout for it. It's also a very on-trend style, so a few things helped. It wasn't a very quick flip. It took about 5 months to sell, but it did sell pretty well, and for a great price, I would say. But the tricky thing with this one was I did not have a box to ship it in, and it took me actually a couple days to ship it out because I did not have a box, and was able to finally find one at the recycling bin in my apartment building. So yeah, that's the tricky thing with some of these like bigger wide brim hats, is I just don't have a box usually to fit them. I feel like that's the only time when it comes to, you know, Poshmark's boxes, now that Poshmark ships Ground and Vantage. That's the bummer, because I really liked those large priority mail boxes that you could get for free and ship out your stuff, and that box was just a good size for something like this. But speaking of Poshmark's changes, I did want to share quickly some of my thoughts on the app redesign and just, you know, Poshmark's whole new look, because it looks very, very different than it once did. But overall, I actually have really positive thoughts about it. I think, you know, Poshmark, in my opinion, has never looked better. I think it looks very clean and a little more sophisticated and modern. I really like the new, like very brand new listing metrics that they show on your listings now, which only you can see your listing metrics. So it says like the number of days an item has been listed, how many offers, how many clicks it's gotten. So it has some really good data just like right there on the listing now, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I feel like my biggest gripe is just not fully knowing where everything is anymore, and like navigating takes a little bit longer, but even then, it's like not that hard to find what I'm looking for. It's just not quite as like quick and intuitive anymore. And then the photos, they're not in square anymore. They're a 3x4. And I think it looks so nice that with the item a little more close up. I don't know how that's gonna affect like how I take my pictures because I'm so used to taking them in square mode. So I haven't fully decided. I'm still taking them in square mode and just making sure they're really centered. But it does zoom in on the item. I'm still trying to figure that part out a little, but I think overall it does look nice to have the item a little closer up. When I'm scrolling through my Poshmark listings, I do think it looks pretty good. So let me know what your thoughts are on the new Poshmark app redesign and just, I don't know, what you think Poshmark is doing and where they're heading, because clearly there's a lot of changes going on and I'm sure they are not done making changes. All right, I've got about 5 sales left to go. So this is a pair of Patagonia women's nylon shorts. Flipped them for 14 bucks, but they took around 4 months. So not too shabby, but again, not that like within a 2-week time period that I really like if it's gonna be a low price sale. So for this exact item, I might just leave it. It kind of depends too, like how my thrift day is going. It's also a very lightweight item, so if I'm at the Goodwill outlet, it's kind of an easy thing just to throw in. It doesn't bring the total up much when you pay by the pound. It's very light. So yeah, this is one that I would lean towards not picking up again, but I'm not gonna say I'll never pick this category and this item up again. Let me know in the comments if you find Patagonia a lot. I know here in the Pacific Northwest, it's pretty easy to come by, but depending on where you live, maybe it's not. So let me know if you find Patagonia a lot and if you pick it up if you do. This next one was actually a very, very fast flip. So this was a Marimekko and Uniqlo polka dot shirt. This sold for $21 on Poshmark in just 4 days, very quick. And when I saw the Marimekko tag, the brand tag, I was very excited because that's a brand that can sell for quite a bit. It's a pretty expensive brand. I think it's a Finnish brand. But then when I saw it was a collaboration with Uniqlo, I was like, all right, this is gonna bring down the value a little bit, but it still did okay. $21 for a t-shirt isn't bad. It sold really quickly. It's a brand I certainly would recommend being on the lookout for and looking into it if you come across it. It can certainly sell for a bit more if it's a standalone piece by that brand versus a collaboration, especially with Uniqlo or like, you know, any fast fashion brand. Then this next brand is actually one I completely swore off, so that tells me that this was sitting for a little while. But this is a pair of BDG Urban Outfitters lightweight cargo pants. These sold for $23 on Poshmark. At least a year or two ago, I really decided I was not gonna pick this brand up anymore because it just sat forever and I had way more items listed than were selling. So I stopped picking it up. And I have no regrets about that decision. Here's one of my tried and true forever bread and butter brands, and that is Gymshark. So this is a men's t-shirt, such a low price sale, 10 bucks, nothing exciting, but it only took 2 weeks to sell. So very quick. People who like Gymshark are on the lookout for it, and it just, I don't know, tends to move pretty quickly for me usually, but I know if I sell it, it's not gonna be a high sale price. Saving the very best for last. This is a Reformation women's very feminine blouse. This one sold for $80 on Poshmark, so great sale. I knew right away when I found this it was gonna do well just because the style's really good, the brand's good. When I first saw it and picked it up in the bins, I didn't really think I was gonna list it that high, but then I saw that it was still being sold online for, I don't remember, I wanna say like $160. So I listed it pretty high and then it sold pretty high. So great sale. Oh, and it only took 1 day to sell. Overall, things are pretty consistent right now as far as sales go. I think, you know, things are moving. Plenty of things are not moving too, but I will continue to share what is selling and what's doing well for me. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. And I hope you have a very good rest of your day, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.